is that there was turmoil during my love affair with Farrah. A lot of it caused by my family, by my kids.
Ryan O'Neal once seemed to have everything a man could dream of. He was the golden boy of Hollywood after Love Story, and by his side was Farrah Fawcett, the woman every magazine called the most beautiful in the world. To fans, they were untouchable, the ultimate power couple who lived a life of glamour and romance. But behind the cameras, their love was turbulent, filled with breakups, reconciliations, and unspoken regrets. For decades, Ryan kept silent about the darkest truth of their relationship. And when he finally revealed it, at the age of 82, it shocked everyone who thought they already knew their story. The image of perfection shattered, replaced by a devastating confession that changed how the world remembered them both. When audiences first met Ryan O'Neal in the early 1970s, he was more than just another handsome face in Hollywood. His breakout role in Love Story turned him into an overnight sensation, and the film itself became a cultural landmark. People quoted its lines, posters hung in dorm rooms, and Ryan was suddenly the actor every studio wanted to cast. His image was that of the romantic leading man who embodied youthful passion and heartbreak. On the other side of the spotlight, Farrah Fawcett was beginning her own meteoric rise. With her unforgettable smile, sun-kissed hair, and an energy that seemed to light up every room, she became a household name almost instantly. Her iconic red swimsuit poster sold millions of copies, making her one of the most recognizable women on the planet. When Ryan and Farrah's paths crossed, the media wasted no time in branding them Hollywood royalty. To the public, they seemed like a perfect match. The charming movie star and the television darling whose careers symbolized a golden era of entertainment. Tabloids and magazines printed photographs of them at premieres, vacations, and high-profile parties. Their relationship looked like the fantasy most people only dreamed of: glamorous, exciting, and filled with promise. For fans, Ryan and Farrah represented the idea that true love could exist even under the blinding lights of fame. But beneath the glittering surface, reality was far less simple. Their connection was undeniable, yet those who knew them personally began to notice tension. Farrah's rapid success made her a global icon, and Ryan's own career faced the challenge of staying relevant in an industry that was already shifting. Both carried immense pressure, and their relationship soon became a battlefield between ambition, insecurity, and the overwhelming demands of celebrity. The cracks in their seemingly perfect romance had already started to appear, though the public only saw the picture-perfect smiles on magazine covers. For Ryan and Farrah, the 1970s were the decade that defined them as a couple. They were the dream pairing that captured imaginations, but they were also two strong individuals with very different needs. What looked like destiny was, in truth, the beginning of a love story filled with passion, chaos, and heartbreak. And while fans thought they were witnessing the rise of Hollywood's golden couple, the truth was far more complicated. What came next would reveal just how volatile this relationship truly was. From the outside, Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett's romance sparkled with the glamour of a Hollywood fairy tale. Yet those closest to them knew a very different story was unfolding behind closed doors. Their relationship, which stretched across nearly 3 decades, was anything but smooth. It was defined by passion and intensity, but also by arguments that could erupt without warning. Friends recalled how the couple could be inseparable one moment and at odds the next, often breaking apart only to reunite again, as if no time had passed. Part of the volatility came from Ryan himself. By his own later admission, he struggled with jealousy and control. Farrah was not just admired, she was adored worldwide. Her image was on bedroom walls, in glossy magazines, and in television households every week. For Ryan, watching the world's fascination with the woman he loved was both a point of pride and a source of insecurity. Rumors of infidelity only added fuel to the fire, whether they were true or not, and their home life was often shaken by distrust. Farrah, on the other hand, was determined to carve out a career that went beyond being the face on a poster. She wanted to be taken seriously as an actress, and often pushed against the limits that Hollywood tried to place on her. That drive sometimes clashed with Ryan's own career struggles. While she was taking bold risks, He was navigating a series of ups and downs after his early blockbuster success. Instead of celebrating each other's victories, their relationship became a tug-of-war between ambition and resentment. Tabloids, always eager for drama, painted their love life as the ultimate soap opera. One week they were spotted together at a glamorous event. The next week, headlines shouted about a split. Fans could not keep up with the whirlwind. But what they did not realize was that this cycle of breaking up and making up had become the defining rhythm of their love. It was messy, exhausting, but also magnetic. Neither Ryan nor Farrah could walk away for long, no matter how many times they tried. This pattern of volatility would carry them well beyond the glitter of the 1970s, into a new era where both their careers and their relationship would be tested in ways no one could have predicted. And just when it seemed they might finally have found peace, another shift would change the course of their story. By the early 1990s, the golden glow that once surrounded Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett had begun to fade. Hollywood had changed, and so had they. Ryan, who had once been one of the most bankable leading men, found himself struggling to land roles that matched the promise of his early career. Audiences had moved on, and Ryan often admitted that he did not know how to reinvent himself for a new generation of films. Meanwhile, Farrah was charting a different path. She had shaken off her reputation as just a television star and poster icon, proving she had the range and dedication to tackle serious dramatic roles. Her performances in stage productions and television movies began to win her critical respect, even if it meant stepping away from the glamorous image that had first made her famous. This difference in momentum created a growing gap between them. Farrah was seeking depth, meaning, and artistic fulfillment, while Ryan was wrestling with professional frustration and personal demons. Friends of the couple noted that their lives seemed to be heading in opposite directions. Farrah was evolving, and Ryan was clinging to the past. That imbalance often turned their relationship into a battlefield of unmet expectations. By the late 1990s, the pair officially separated. After nearly 2 decades of turbulence, it seemed like their story had finally reached its end. Yet even in their separation, Ryan could not let go of what they had shared. Years later, he admitted that he was not the partner Farrah deserved. He confessed that immaturity, pride, and selfishness played a role in pushing her away. In interviews, he was brutally honest about how he failed to value her when he still had the chance. "She was the love of my life," he said, "and I let her slip away." But while the world assumed their romance had ended for good, their bond was not so easily erased. What no one realized at the time was that destiny had another chapter in store for Ryan and Farrah, one that would bring them back together under circumstances more heartbreaking than anyone could have imagined. In 2006, the story of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett took a turn no one could have predicted. Farrah, the woman whose face had once symbolized health, beauty, and vitality, received a devastating diagnosis. She was battling cancer, and the news sent shockwaves across the world. Fans who had adored her since her Charlie's Angels days watched in disbelief as she faced the toughest fight of her life. What made the story even more gripping was that Ryan, despite years of separation, arguments, and regret, was suddenly right back by her side. Their reunion was not born out of Hollywood glamour, but out of necessity, loyalty, and love. Ryan, once accused of being too self-absorbed, took on the role of caretaker. He accompanied Farrah to treatments, shielded her from invasive media when he could, and tried to provide comfort in a battle that was often brutal and public. For him, it was not just about supporting her physically. It was a chance to repair what had been broken, to prove that despite everything, his love for her had never truly faded. Farrah, determined to maintain control over her own narrative, decided to share her journey with the world. In 2009, her documentary Farrah's Story aired, offering an unflinching look at her treatments, her struggles, and her courage. The special drew millions of viewers, many of whom were stunned at her openness. She had once been seen only as a glamorous starlet, but now she revealed herself as a fighter with a raw, human vulnerability. And through it all, Ryan was there, his presence undeniable, his devotion plain to see. For those who had followed their roller coaster romance for decades, this chapter was both heartbreaking and redemptive. It seemed as though life had forced them to strip away the drama and finally face what truly mattered. Ryan later admitted that those years at her side were among the most profound of his life. They were not about fame or fortune. They were about love, stripped down to its core. But as powerful as their reunion was, the ending to this chapter would devastate Ryan in ways he never recovered from, and set the stage for the confession he would make years later. On June 25, 2009, the world lost Farrah Fawcett at the age of 62. Her passing came after a long and very public fight, one that had shown her incredible strength and vulnerability. For Ryan O'Neal, however, it was more than the loss of a cultural icon. It was the most personal heartbreak of his life. After years of turbulence, reconciliations, and distance, he had finally found his way back to her side, only to lose her for good. The day Farrah passed, Ryan's grief was visible. He spoke candidly about the void her absence left, calling her the love of his life and admitting that no one could ever take her place. In one interview, his voice broke as he recalled their final moments together, saying that they had made peace with their past and, in some way, had found each other again before the end. It was a bittersweet closure, one that left him grateful for their time together, but consumed by the pain of what had been lost. To the public, the love story had always seemed like a whirlwind of passion and drama, but in those final weeks, Ryan's devotion became undeniable. He was no longer the Hollywood playboy of the 1970s or the frustrated actor of the 90s. He was a man stripped bare, mourning the woman he had always loved. Farrah's funeral, attended by close friends and family, became a symbol of just how deeply she had touched the lives of those around her. Yet what shocked fans most was not just Ryan's grief, but what he admitted in the years that followed. He confessed that he had planned to ask Farrah to marry him during her final days, but the moment slipped away. He said he had carried the ring, ready for the proposal, but circumstances never allowed it to happen. For a man who had built a life on charm and bravado, it was a devastating acknowledgement that he had waited too long to give her what she had deserved all along. But Ryan's story did not end there. As time passed, he revealed even more about his regrets, his failures, and the painful truth that haunted him well into his 80s. As the years passed, Ryan O'Neal rarely spoke publicly about his personal life. When he did, his words carried the weight of a man haunted by what he had lost. By the time he reached his 80s, he no longer tried to hide behind Hollywood bravado. He began admitting what fans had long suspected, that his greatest regret was not marrying Farrah Fawcett when he had the chance. In interviews, his voice cracked as he revealed that he had been selfish, immature, and too proud to give her the commitment she wanted. Ryan confessed that he had always assumed Farrah would be there. Their pattern of breaking up and reconciling had created an illusion of permanence, a belief that no matter how bad things got, they would find their way back to each other. But when illness struck and time ran out, that illusion shattered. The proposal he had planned never happened, and the ring he carried remained a silent symbol of a love that ended without closure. "I lost the love of my life," he admitted, "and I will live with that regret until my last day." For fans, the confession was devastating. For decades, they had watched the couple's roller coaster romance play out in headlines. They had cheered their reunions and sighed at their breakups. But hearing Ryan finally acknowledge the depth of his regret reframed the entire story. It was no longer just a tale of passion and drama. It was a story of mistakes that could not be undone, of a man who realized too late that pride had cost him everything. This honesty struck a chord because it revealed something deeply human. Beneath the fame and the glamour, Ryan was just another person who had let love slip away. His confession showed vulnerability that Hollywood stars often hide, and in doing so, it brought fans closer to the truth than ever before. But his regret was not limited to Farrah. In opening up about his past, Ryan also faced questions about his role as a father and the struggles within his family. Ryan O'Neal's heartbreak over Farrah Fawcett was only one part of a larger story marked by fractured relationships and painful regrets. His role as a father had long been complicated, and in his later years, he openly admitted that he had made mistakes with his children. His bond with Tatum O'Neal, his daughter from his first marriage, was famously strained. Though they had shared the spotlight when she won an Academy Award as a child, their relationship soon fell apart under the pressures of fame, personal struggles, and bitter disputes. For decades, they barely spoke, with both acknowledging in interviews that hurtful words and long silences had defined much of their connection. Then there was Redmond O'Neill, the son he shared with Farrah. Redmond's life was marked by turmoil, including legal troubles and battles with addiction that made headlines. Farrah herself had expressed deep worry about his future, especially during her illness. Ryan later admitted that he felt he had failed Redmond, that he had not provided the stability or guidance a father should. For him, the struggles of his son were a constant reminder of the chaos that had shadowed his own life and choices. These family fractures weighed heavily on Ryan. His confessions about Farrah were often intertwined with reflections on his children. He recognized that his immaturity and impulsive nature had not only cost him the woman he loved, but also damaged his role as a parent. In one candid moment, he admitted, "I was not the father I should have been, and I was not the partner Farrah deserved." It was a rare acknowledgement of accountability, the kind that stripped away the Hollywood facade and revealed a man who saw his legacy as deeply flawed. For fans, these admissions were both tragic and illuminating. They showed that Ryan's regrets were not limited to romance, but extended into the most personal parts of his life. And yet, through all of this pain, his devotion to Farrah remained at the center of his story. Even when reflecting on his children, he often circled back to her, as if everything, his failures, his regrets, his longings, were tied to the love he had lost. But even in his darkest reflections, there was one undeniable truth. The legacy of Ryan and Farrah's love story would continue to outshine the scandals and regrets. Even with all the turbulence, regrets, and heartbreak, the love story of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett has endured in the public's memory as one of Hollywood's most unforgettable romances. It was not a tale of perfect harmony, but of passion so fierce that it survived decades of breakups, reconciliations, and even the shadow of illness. Fans continue to revisit their story not because it was flawless, but because it was real, messy, complicated, and deeply human. Farrah's legacy remains unmatched. She is remembered not just as the blonde beauty who graced posters and television screens, but as a woman of strength who faced her illness with unflinching courage. Her documentary, Farrah's Story, captured her resilience and left a permanent mark on how the world viewed her. To many, she became a symbol of both vulnerability and bravery, proving that behind the glamorous image was a woman of extraordinary depth. Ryan's legacy, though far more complicated, is forever tied to her. In his later years, when he spoke of regret and love lost, he did so with an honesty that revealed just how much Farrah had defined his life. His words stripped away the image of a Hollywood playboy and revealed a man who, despite fame and fortune, measured his existence by one relationship. Fans saw not a movie star, but a man who had loved, lost, and carried that loss until the end. Their romance remains etched into Hollywood history because it defied easy explanation. It was not just about beauty and success, it was about the raw, unpredictable force of two people who could not let go of each other, even when everything seemed to pull them apart. It was about love that endured through chaos and, in the end, became a story of redemption. For all his missteps, Ryan O'Neal made one thing clear in his final years. Farrah Fawcett was the love of his life, and her absence left a void that nothing could ever fill. Their story reminds us that some bonds, however flawed, remain unbreakable. And while Ryan carried regret, he also carried the truth, a truth that forever sealed their place as one of the most legendary, heartbreaking love stories Hollywood has ever known. Ryan O'Neal's confession at 82 was more than just a personal admission. It was the final chapter of a love story that the world had watched unfold for over 3 decades. A story filled with passion, mistakes, reconciliation, and regret. Farrah Fawcett remains an icon of beauty and courage, while Ryan's late-life honesty revealed the depth of his love and the pain of opportunities missed. Together, they left behind a legacy that was not perfect, but unforgettable. Their story forces us to ask a question. How often do we take love for granted, assuming there will always be more time? For Ryan, the answer came too late. For the rest of us, it serves as a reminder that some chances never come again. If you found their story as moving as we did, Make sure to subscribe for more untold truths behind Hollywood's greatest legends. And do not forget to like this video and share it with others who still remember the unforgettable love of Ryan O'Neal and Farrah Fawcett.